Well, thank you very much, Anne, for that very interesting introduction. And unfortunately, she's now outed me as a Queen's graduate and I'm meeting at the University of Ulster. But of course, we are very proud to have not one, but two, indeed three real quality universities operating within Northern Ireland. I'm certainly delighted to be up in Derry today. There's a lot happening in the city. And indeed, of all the events, of course, the FACE conference is the highlight of the week's events. And I do want to extend my thanks to Professor John Storan as the chair of FACE, and also to Professor Deirdre Heenan for the invitation to address you today and to share a few thoughts and reflections in terms of what's happening in Northern Ireland. It is encouraging to see such a wide-ranging and diverse audience here, and I do thank you for taking time out of what is no doubt your own very busy schedules to be with us today. And I do want to extend a very warm welcome to all of our visitors from outside of these islands, whether it's from North America, Europe, Asia. And I think that we even have a delegate, I understand, that's from as far away as the Marshall Islands, so a very warm welcome in that respect. This is the first time that the FACE conference has been hosted here in Northern Ireland, and we are delighted that in partnership with the University of Ulster, it was decided to hold the 19th annual conference here in this historic city. Indeed, this is a very interesting and important time in the city's history. It's currently playing host to the Clipper around the World Yacht Race, and at the same time it is preparing for next year, when it is the UK City of Culture, and there will be a celebration of culture in the city right throughout the year. Over the years, the FACE conference has become the premier annual networking event for all of those concerned with and involved in higher education access, widening participation and lifelong learning. The conference has attracted, as it always does, delegates not only from every part of the UK, but also from many other parts of the world. This year's conference provides an excellent opportunity for us in Northern Ireland to highlight the important work being done here to widen participation, including the work undertaken to develop an integrated regional strategy for widening participation. I know that FACE members and their institutions have been at the forefront of exciting developments concerned with widening participation to higher education. And this year's conference is therefore a valuable opportunity for the exchange of knowledge and best practice in this area. Importantly, the conference presents an opportunity to hear from colleagues from a wide range of different backgrounds and contexts coming together to contribute valuable insights in relation to the conference theme of widening participation in divided communities. And I think it's important that maybe we just take a moment to reflect upon that. And people are very conscious of the recent history of Northern Ireland, and indeed the recent history of Derry itself as a city. And clearly we have a history of violence, we have a history of division. But despite what has happened in Northern Ireland over the past 40 years, right throughout that time, our universities were always a haven and a sanctuary for free academic thought. Our institutions were always shared institutions. There was never any sense of artificial divisions being created between different people based upon the backgrounds that they came from. Everyone was treated as an equal, and everyone was judged based upon their merit, their ability to engage in academic pursuits, and indeed the contribution that they could make to wider society. And I think it is important that we do reflect and acknowledge the role that all of our university campuses played in providing that constructive role at a time when there wasn't an awful lot of hope elsewhere within Northern Ireland. And as things have improved over the past decade and longer, the universities in turn have come into their own and have increasingly flourished and really copper fastened what has become a growing international standing. And I think the presence of the conference here today reflects in particular the status of McGee in terms of the the international academic community, where it is known in particular for a lot of its contributions towards peace building and mutual understanding. In terms of where we go from here, in terms of the debates that we are having in Northern Ireland, and also many of you are having in your own particular jurisdictions, I mean, the increased participation of underrepresented sections of society is something that we all have to address, and it is certainly one of my department's key strategic goals. Since 2000, my department has been addressing the issue of widening participation through a range of policy developments, student support measures and funded initiatives, including premium and project funding to the institutions. In this academic year, 2011 and 12, for example, my department has allocated 2.5 million to promote and support widening participation within higher education. Special project funding has been provided for programmes which raise aspiration and attainment levels in order to encourage individuals from underrepresented sections of society to apply to and to progress within higher education. Projects such as Discovering Queens and the University of Ulster's own Step Up programme have been highly successful. I should highlight that 93% of Step Up students progress directly into university in Northern Ireland or Great Britain. Much of this special project work is undertaken in schools in areas which have suffered greatly in the past because of violence and divisions within our society, and which traditionally have had low levels of progression into higher education. These are also often areas that have a history of supplying low-skilled labour into industries that have long since declined or disappeared. This route is obviously no longer an option within an increasingly global economy. In addition, my department requires higher education providers to produce access agreements and widening participation strategies and strategic assessments which allow them to demonstrate all that they do to support disadvantaged students and communities, including the provision of student bursaries and outreach activities. And our higher education institutions demonstrate a significant commitment to widening participation. In the academic year 2010-11, for example, they spent around 22 million on student support measures and other widening participation activities. As a result of all of our efforts, Northern Ireland's record of participation in higher education has increased steadily and compares very favourably to other areas of the United Kingdom, where we have participation rates for young people here at almost 50%. We've also been very successful in achieving our objectives of raising motivation, aspirations and attainment of students who otherwise may not have considered going into higher education. Almost 42% of our students come from socio-economic groups 4 to 7. However, despite these successes, certain parts of our community continue to be underrepresented in higher education. Too many of our people continue to experience disadvantage and exclusion, and in particular, too few from particular disadvantaged backgrounds progress to higher education. However, widening participation in higher education is not simply a matter of social justice. Equally important is Northern Ireland's need for a highly skilled workforce. Increasing workforce skills, and in particular increasing the proportion of the workforce with high or intermediate level skills, is key to Northern Ireland achieving and sustaining economic competitiveness. To secure the sustainable, globally competitive economy in Northern Ireland and to achieve the growth in people with high level skills which will make this country world class, government clearly needs to reach out to groups which have not traditionally benefited from higher education to maximise participation and to ensure that we are unlocking all of the productive talents within our society. The challenge will be to encourage and assist individuals from underrepresented sections to achieve their full potential and to contribute to the collective good of society. We must embrace this challenge to develop a highly skilled workforce, and as almost 80% of the 2020 workforce is already in employment, a major focus has to be on the upskilling as well of the existing workforce. With this in mind, I am committed to developing a new approach to widening participation in Northern Ireland, based on a future vision of the sector in which the people who are most able but least likely to participate are given every encouragement and support to achieve the necessary qualifications to apply to and to benefit from higher education, irrespective of their personal or social background. In April of this year, I launched Graduating to Success, my department's first higher education strategy for Northern Ireland. This strategy identifies the key challenges ahead for my department and the sector. The different fees regimes in the different parts of these islands may create distortions, and there may, for example, be increased pressures upon local higher education places. Also, demographics are predicted to change, with the core cohort of 18 to 21-year-olds, on which university funding for teaching and learning has been traditionally based, reducing. Learner expectations are increasing and changing. Our retention rates remain an area for significant improvement. Funding is restricting, and the expectations from the executive on public money are increasing. At the same time, the strategy outlines our vision for higher education in Northern Ireland by the year 2020 and how this can be achieved. It is one of a sector which is of international calibre, which pursues excellence in teaching and research, and plays a pivotal role in the development of modern, sustainable, knowledge-based economy. It will also be a sector which supports a shared society and recognises and values diversity. The vision for higher education will be supported by 4 key strands: responsiveness, high quality delivery, flexibility and accessibility. My department is committed to supporting the development of a more responsive higher education sector in Northern Ireland. The role of higher education in helping to secure our economic future is vital. It has a pivotal role in the creation of a sustainable knowledge-based economy and helping to secure an inclusive society. We are also committed to maintaining a high-quality learning experience for all higher education learners, with a supportive learning environment regardless of the location of study. Our future higher education sector will fully support a lifelong learning environment with clear, flexible pathways into and through higher education for learners. Last but by no means least, we will encourage and support the higher education sector to be accessible in the widest sense. Graduating to Success recognises the need for the sector to widen and deepen its engagement with the community on a local and regional level. Higher education has the power to transform, enrich and inspire individuals and society. I therefore recognise the importance of ensuring that we continue to provide all of our people with the opportunity to avail of higher education. This was an issue that I addressed last year with the decision to freeze tuition fees for local students at local institutions, and also to sustain the level of funding for the higher education sector. My department seeks to build upon the work done so far in achieving the vision outlined in Graduating to Success, and is now leading on the development and implementation of a parallel regional strategy to widen participation in higher education. This widening participation strategy will be the product of extensive research, a sharing of knowledge and experience by expert stakeholders, and an extensive public consultation process. The strategy will identify those groups which are still underrepresented in higher education and which may require additional support in a more strategically focused manner. These groups are people from socio-economic classification groups 5 to 7, those with disabilities, whether those are physical, mental or learning, young males in particular, young Protestant males from low participation areas, people from areas of multiple deprivation, and older people, particularly work-based learners. I should emphasise that the strategy will recognise people within these groups as individuals with at times falling into several categories, with individual support needs throughout their entire student life cycle. The strategy will address the need to raise aspirations to participate in higher education among the underrepresented and to raise their educational attainment levels to enable that participation. It will consider recruitment processes to ensure that students not only have the necessary information to apply for the right course, but that all relevant information is taken into account in the selection process. It will address the need to ensure the retention of students from underrepresented groups in higher education and their subsequent progression into employment. Working in partnership will be crucial to the successful delivery of this widening participation strategy, and my department will work closely with the other key stakeholders, including other government departments, the universities and the further education colleges and other relevant stakeholder organisations. The widening participation strategy therefore represents the first interinstitutional and government attempt to address this issue, and it is going hopefully forward to our cabinet, what we call the executive, tomorrow afternoon for agreement, and hopefully there are no outstanding final issues to be addressed. I would like to take this opportunity to offer my personal thanks to John Storn for his very valuable contribution to the development of the regional strategy for widening participation in higher education, as well as sitting on the overarching regional strategy steering group, and John chaired the targets subgroup. I look forward to reading the conference report in due course. I will be particularly interested in your deliberations on how application to higher education by students from a disadvantaged background can in future be facilitated through the admissions process that considers both academic performance and also the future potential of the applicant. This comes in the context of the February 2011 letter from Vince Cable and David Willits to the Director of OFA, and the government does believe that the use of contextual data is a valid and appropriate way for institutions to broaden access while maintaining excellence. I rather suspect this is a major debate that we all need to have, and it's one that we are making provision for within our own Northern Ireland strategy, but it is certainly a debate that we do need to have informed discussion, and certainly everyone in this room has an important leadership role to play in all of that discussions. All that remains for me to do is to once again thank you very much for the invitation along here this afternoon, and to wish you a very enjoyable visit both to Derry and to Northern Ireland, and to wish you every success with this conference as you deliberate on some very important issues for the future of our higher education system, not just in Northern Ireland but elsewhere in these islands and around the world. So I wish you good luck and thank you very much.